sand on our skin, we won't come home. Radio on, rose-colored light, pretending I'm famous.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's Veronica, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make these Geode Crystals using Borax. So all you'll need for this project is a glass jar, some pipe cleaners, a stick or skewer, and then some string or thread, some dye depending on what color you want to use, some boiling water, and then of course borax. And you should be able to find this in your local store by the laundry detergent. So to start this project off, I'm going to be taking 4 pipe cleaners and forming the shape of the crystal. So first I'm going to start off by making my oval crystal, and you just kind of want to start by making the outside shape, and then you can just start weaving in the pipe cleaners. And as you go, you can kind of shape it to how you want. You can kind of make it more of a bowl shape, or you could make it flat. It really just depends on what you want. And you definitely don't need 4 pieces of pipe cleaners, but I like to make my crystals without any holes in the back. So the more pipe cleaners that you use, the smoother the crystals will turn out. And I'll show you what I mean in the end, you'll see. And then once I'm finished with the oval shape, I'm going to make a heart shape as well. And you could really get creative with this because there are so many shapes that you could do. And when you're making this, you want to keep in mind that this needs to fit through the mouth of the jar that you're using, because it not only needs to fit through the mouth, it also needs to be able to come out. So you kind of have to imagine that there's going to be crystal buildup on the outside of it, so maybe allow a few centimeters on each side so that you can pull it out of the jar. And I think I'm going to kind of make this a bowl shape as well. So once I'm finished with both my shapes, I'm just going to take my thread and I'm going to tie it to the bottom of the shape. Then I'll just take the other end of the thread and tie it to the skewer. And you really could use anything for this. You could use a pen or pencil, or even a spoon, I think I've used once. So then once you have your shapes prepped, we're just going to make our borax solution. So the first thing you're going to want to do is pour boiling water into your jar. And I'm only going to be filling this about 3/4 full, because you want to imagine that you're going to add a lot of borax to it, so you don't want it to overflow. So then I'm going to take the borax and I'm going to slowly scoop it into the boiling water. And you want to slowly add this so that it dissolves into the water, and then you just want to keep stirring it. And there's really no specific measurements for this. You just want to keep filling it up until your water is foggy and your borax is completely dissolved. And I also like to fill it a little full, to the point where you have borax on the bottom that isn't dissolving, because then you know for sure that you have enough borax in the water. Because if you don't have enough borax, then your crystals won't form. So then next I'm just going to be adding my dye to the boiling water. And I actually did not have a lot of blue, so that's why I didn't add more. But normally you want this to be very thick, because your crystals come out quite a few shades lighter than the actual color of the water. And then I'm going to do the second jar, and I put way more green drops in the second jar, so that is definitely why the green crystal is a little darker than the blue one. And you want to make sure that you do this quickly, because you want the water to be still very hot when you put in your pipe cleaners. So now you kind of want to dip them a few times before you put them in, and then just make sure they're in the center of the jar. Then the last step is just to cover your jars. And I just used some plastic saran wrap to do this, but you could use a plate or a cup or just anything really to cover it. Then once you're finished, you're just going to want to set these somewhere out of the way where they're not going to be moved. So now comes the hardest part of this whole project, which is waiting. So you're going to want to wait at least 12 hours for these to kind of set. And I ended up waiting actually 22 hours for my crystals to be done. And the longer you keep them in, the bigger the crystals will be. So now here are my jars 22 hours later. And you're just going to want to have to kind of pop them out a little bit because they do kind of stick in there. And then of course they're going to be wet, so you want to take a paper towel and just kind of dry them a little bit. And if you want, you could leave these in longer. It just kind of depends on the look you want. So then for the last step, I'm just going to take a scissors and I'm going to cut very close to the crystal, and I'm going to cut the string off. And then you kind of just want to brush your crystals because they might have some loose little crystals on them that will fall off later. So if you just brush them off, then you don't get a huge mess. So these are the finished crystals. If you see, this is about the size of the crystals, but if you left them in longer, they could be bigger, or if you left them in for less time, they would be smaller. And actually, if you look on the back of these, you can see what I meant earlier about weaving your pipe cleaners together really good, because as you can see, the green one had a few more gaps in the pipe cleaners and the blue one was woven together very tightly. So you can kind of see the difference you get with the borax crystals. So now you're just going to want to let these sit for a few minutes to completely dry, and then you're finished. Alright guys, so I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!
We won't